Hey guys, I'm JanetOnOccasion, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay, and this one is super unique. This is Skaven, played by Stratovarius, and he's against the Lizardmen, and this is a super unique army. This is old school, but also with a twist. There's no guns, there's none of the DLC stuff. It's a real classic build, and it has Queek. Like, why Queek? He's anti-infantry. That's mad. But actually, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, because here, he just got this generic armor sundering and melee defense ruining ability, which is great, the warp shard armor. So that's super useful. And, I mean, 18 armor is actually quite substantial. That will help a lot. But also, he's got trophy heads. So any lord, whether it be Krokkar, Mazdamundi, Tehenowin, whatever, you can just hit it with trophy heads, and they're going to be in real trouble. Real trouble indeed. So it's a really good thing to have. And actually, 42 melee defense, it isn't too bad, because most of the big, stompy things that are going to be killing your lords and heroes, yeah, they're going to be anti-large a lot of the time, So having a serious sort of like small guy, anti-infantry, but with armor piercing, good melee attack generally, and be able to nerf stats so horribly, it's actually really good. Also here, Warlock Engineer, he just got Death Frenzy and the Warpstone armor. So just Death Frenzy, up that melee attack, get that DPS in there as quickly as possible, because his army's actually quite flimsy. He's relying on a lot of Death Runners. He has 4 units of these. He's got 2 in the front line to help all of these cheaper units get more value. And way over here, he has another 2 hidden in the back. And the thing is, these guys are very, very flimsy. So if you can lower combat stats, or up the combat stats of your own army, you can get through those engagements much quicker. And that will really help let them do the damage and make sure the enemy doesn't kill you before you can kill them. That's just textbook Total War, isn't it? You kill the enemy before they kill you, you win. So, yeah, faster killing is brilliant on very high DPS units anyway. They're just going to land all those hits. And getting that armor sundering in there of 50%, and that's 50% debuff after Queek Head Taker's debuff, so you can really screw over your enemy there. Also, Rat Ogres. There's 2 units there, and there's 2 units over here that have already immediately caught out some Chameleon Skinks. So those Chameleon Skinks are just not going to get the value, which is amazing. That is a great get that early on. Frontline, super cheap though. A lot of Skaven slaves, a lot of clan rats. It's all cheap stuff, but it's enough to bog down some Skinks and things for a while. So his opponent, big front line of Skinks. In the back, Skinks with Javelins. These are great for dealing with things like the Rat Ogres. Very, very nice there. And there's a ton of cavalry here. Feral Cold Ones, a couple of Cold One Riders, and there's a Ganossa, led by Mazdamundi. So Mazdamundi, of course, he is anti-infantry, but he has terrible stats. Just terrible combat stats. It's the splash damage. He's great for units of infantry, not soloing something like Queek, right? That's not really his bag. But with trophy heads, he's never going to land a hit. And that armor of 140 that keeps him going, that is going to drop so low once all those armor debuffs hit him. So it's going to be very difficult for Mazdamundi to sit there fighting when he's fighting a bunch of stuff with cheap anti-large and a ton of armor sundering. Oh, and there are some gutter runs with poison, so he's going to get poisoned. And these guys don't have a lot of armor piercing, but backed up with Death Runners, they are amazing. That missile damage will almost all register, and they can do some serious work. They are no joke when the enemy's armor is sundered. So, more Feral Cold Ones on this side as well. Some more Chameleon Skinks dotted around. Let's speed things up. So, straight away you can see the Chameleon Skinks are just getting absolutely wrecked. And the Feral Cold Ones aren't even going to try and fight the Rat Ogres off. The Rat Ogres get the charge, these guys are going to get shut down very quick. And the other Rat Ogres, they've decided to load this flank heavily as well. You can see that Queek and the Death Runners are charging in here. And, yep, some spells are being used. Did I just see... Oh, there we go, Death Frenzy upgraded. They all have Death Frenzy on them. And Mazdamundi is going to have his armor sundered soon, but it's taking some time for these Death Runners to actually hit him, which is a bit of a bother. But the Warlock Engineer here going to be whittling down these Skinks, which is really nice. A Banishment over here, but it's just Skaven slaves, and it doesn't do much to Rat Ogres, so that's a bit of a shame. That's a bit of a waste. It would have been better just put it right on top. Just pull Mazdamundi back and put it on top there. Javelin's doing some work though, which is nice. And the Rat Ogres are just yo-yoing from one group to the next, and here these guys are really struggling. The Rat Ogres have got a nice rear charge into these Feral Cold Ones, and they get torn apart very, very fast. Rat Ogres still chasing these Chameleon Skinks here, which is nice, and a load of the Skinks on this side are crumbling. Some Skaven slaves are being chased off, but as long as they're still chasing, it's all good. The other Death Runners are pushing in to try and get in here, and Mazdamundi is down to 52 armor. 52 armor is nothing. These gutter runners, they get some good hits on him, and it's going to do a lot of damage. That was a ludicrous amount of damage right there. So Mazdamundi's in a lot of trouble, but sadly, these gutter runners are being drawn into combat, and that is a serious problem. You really want them to stand back and keep shooting, rather than trying to be in combat with him like that. That's a real pity. But over here, units still chasing. These death runners are getting a little bit amorous. They need to come back and join the party. Still plenty of rat ogres, still plenty of clan rats, but here, this is still precarious for the Skaven, because there is terror here, this Dinosaur is pretty much untouched, and the Death Runners have broken over here. And here, this was ludicrous. Just putting the Ruination cities here seems like the most insane tactic, but somehow every prong managed to hit this group, so the Gutter Runners are out, which is a real pity. And that Warlock Engineer, under a lot of pressure, and Queek is trying to run to the aid of his men again. So Cold One Riders doing some good work. Chameleon Skinks also firing in, being a real pain. So these Cold One Riders are going to get shut down by Queek and the Death Runners, but the Death Runners are suffering horrible damage to the Chameleon Skinks. They just have no armor. Only 20 armor is nothing. So, another big charge here, trying to bog down these Death Runners, and they're doing a fine job keeping them bogged down with Skinks. And that's a serious problem. You really need the Death Runners to be on the expensive targets. They are so flimsy with only 20 armor. And I mean, 36 melee defense right now, I mean, it's not the best. So Skinks will do alright, they'll trade cost effectively, but at the very least they'll allow everything else to be more cost effective because they won't have their armour halved. I mean, so much of Lord Mazdamundi's expense is his armour. You know, that's a big thing you're paying for, and if he doesn't have it, then yeah, it's bad for him. He's not going to be worth the price anymore, but as long as you keep the Death Runners off him by throwing Skinks, then that's very, very good. So Mazdamundi being bailed out for a bit here. Feral Carnosaur still doing some work. Another Death Frenzy though. 60 melee attack on the Rat Ogres and huge weapon strength at 88. Very, very deadly. The Cold One Riders being torn to shreds. And it's always, you'll see, it was always upgraded. So it's big groups of the guys getting their buffs. But you can see Death Runners have been terrified. They're not immune to psychology, which is a real pity. So they're off, but loads of Skaven troops are returning. And way over here, a lot of the Lizardmen troops aren't. They're just not being brought back into the fray. They've been forgotten about, which is very sad, because right here, there's some Rat Ogres stood right next to some Skinks that have javelins left. These could turn around and kill the rest of these Rat Ogres with their javelins, and that'd be one less unit to worry about. Then they could run in and do some more work. So it would be great. Here, Death Runners and the Rat Ogres, they're getting sort of jumped on. It's just keeping them out of this combat, which is pretty huge. But right now, Mazdamundi, cold-blooded, trying to keep his leadership up. Apotheosis just cast, but it was too much. Yeah, it's too much. Just the amount of stuff here. Sundering the armor and the cheap spears being able to do a ton of damage when he's only got 52 armor. So it's very, very deadly. You know, the Queek came in. He'd used trophy heads too. And this just wave of rats just pushing through. He can ignore the Carnosaur. The Carnosaur doesn't have great leadership. It doesn't matter. But right now, 29 armor for a feral Carnosaur. And you see it's rampage just by these gutter runners throwing shurikens at it. So that's real rough. That's real rough. So they're making sure to keep chasing Mazdamundi. You see he's pretty slow. These death runners are keeping pace with him. They're actually faster than Zlak. That's right. 50 speed to 54 speed, I believe. Can't quite hover over them. But hey, that's that. So I don't know what's happening here. For some reason it's saying it's closed and this is working, but it didn't go boom. It didn't do the normal, you know, thing, which is weird. And I can't move the camera anymore. But hey, that's a win. That's a win for Skaven, and with a really unusual army, something that's just not expected from these days. It's a classic Skaven army, which I think is amazing. So really well played by Stratovarius. Oh, and it's not even saying the losses. Alright, odd. Anyway, this replay was actually from the previous patch before the hotfix, but I've been told that it still plays out the same, so I went with it. But I guess that's why the ending's a bit screwed, a bit messed up, but yeah, really well played by Stratovarius. I wish I could look at the kills for the Death Runners and things, but you saw what they did. I mean, getting Mazdamundi down to 52 armor is ludicrous. It's a beautiful combination. I absolutely love it. That's the thing, he could have gone one step further. He could have gone one step further. Is it Withering they have access to? What is it? They do have a armor sundering spell as well, I believe. So they could have done that too. But no, they didn't. They didn't. No, this was enough. And I think just Rat Ogres and Death Runners, it's such a unique combination these days that you just don't see, because all of the armor piercing tends to be the guns. But I mean, the Lizardmen player was super prepared for that, you know? He didn't have anything that was too expensive. He had plenty of AoE damage he could throw into the back line, plenty of terror to push through the front, you know, the front line into the back. Feral Carnosaurs are super quick, so, you know, once there's an opportunity for him to run in, he can get in super quickly and just keep on anything scary. All the Feral Cold ones, and, you know, just all of this is just so nippy. It is all very quick and literally nippy. These guys will nip you. So, you know, he's totally prepared. This guy, most humblest and greatest player here, just, yeah, he was super prepared for guns, and so Stratovarius just didn't play into the meta. He went with a totally different pick, and it worked wonders, and I love that about this game. You know, there's obvious picks, but the obvious picks are always going to get countered, so even if they're great, they're going to get countered. People are going to build to try and deal with that, so bring something that you know can work, that isn't going to be countered, you know, that you know they're not prepared for. So sometimes going completely against the meta will just win you a game, and I love that. You know, you can throw a curveball at people. Often a match is decided before the battle starts. I think here, it's definitely something you still need to work hard on, for sure, because, you know, it's a very flimsy army, but it just worked wonders. It just caught this guy completely off guard by the looks of it. So, really well played here. So guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.